3 months. But I'm interested to know what's even driving this discussion as trying to put this out there as an option. Like, why is it critical that we fast track this versus just finishing the process we're already on?
Well, the intent a year ago was we would be further along than we would be, than we actually are. So that part of.
Yeah, but that's neither here nor there. Like, unless there's a compelling need to fast track this to March of 2023, which is what I'm getting at.
I appreciate that. So I wanted staff to be sure to check in with council to see if we should or should not, since we are the policymakers, on whether we should try next year or not. So that's
right. But why?
We want industrial land developed, improve our jobs.
No, I know. Mayor, come on. I know that. I'm saying, why is it like we have a lot of industrial land, already in the city limits that's being developed and is continuing to be developed. Like, why is it critical that we fast track this now versus a year from now?
Not critical. I would not categorize it as critical. I didn't learn until yesterday personally the timeline and the scope of work that would be required. And now we're learning.
Yeah, I take it, Doug, as we're just seeing if we should. I don't think anybody's saying that we should fast track it. We're just seeing what the cost is or what the deadlines are or
right.
whatever.
But if well, there needs to be a compelling reason to do this, right? If we continue on the path we're on and get to option 2, then we're going to be where we need to be. If someone's telling me I got somebody who wants to, break ground or whatever, we need to fast track this to option 1, great, then I'll look at it. But other than that, Doug, it feels like.
Well, Doug, for me, the compelling reason is I think I'm going to have somebody in 5 years or somebody in 6 years that is going to be ready. You know what I mean? Like, do I just want to?
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about.
I just a suggestion here, because Bruce is the one that is talking to all these brokers, understands best what the need for industrial land is in the region. I'm just curious, Bruce, what's your take on the urgency?
Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. Come on. So I just like to hear what Bruce thinks about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's urgent. I mean, this is a very involved process to do it right now. Very clear. I've learned a little bit more about it. We do need to get land ready because I believe, and you don't know, I believe that over the next 5 years, we'll pretty much use up all of our prime land. So we need to be ready for that because frankly, there are, we don't have sites after Tonkin. There's really nothing left after Tonkin. And some of those areas in Tonkin are going to be very, very difficult to develop. There'll be some certainly that'll come out of Ice Age Drive that along the Dalkey Lane, particularly the northerly part of the Dalkey Lane. Schnitzer is gonna be going and blowing, quite frankly. Kerr will come next. Something with Bruce Polly will come, whatever it's going to be exactly when he sells it. And that's pretty much the end of the real industrial land that we've got. And so I know that it's going to be important over the next X period of time to be planning for how are we going to get land into the urban growth boundary, and then when are we going to be ready to annex? And so I'm not going to say it's urgent, but I think it's really critical that we be ready when the time is right to get an approval from Metro for bringing in, all I can talk about is the employment land into this urban growth boundary so that we can be ready. It's going to be really critical that we have an implementation plan also. It's going to look at the infrastructure, the cost of infrastructure, how we're going to deal with that. Those are going to be really critical. And I'm not been through this whole process with Metro. I mean, it's just not something I experienced in Texas. So nor would I ever think in Texas see that. So I just think whether it's now or whether it's a year from now, we just need to make sure that we're moving forward as quickly as we can.
So Bruce, I super appreciate that. And I'm not making the statement up to put your idea, but just something else to think about. We may have to ask Metro multiple times to, we have to keep that in mind as we think about timing and all this, because it's Metro has a history of not being amenable to industrial land asks, so. And again, I'm just adding that as another food for thought for us to think about this. I agree, it is rushed, there's a lot to this, and that could be a battle with Metro as well.
I think when we talked about this last year, whenever the mid-year request, when we talked about it, and we opted not to do a mid-year ask, and that was any housing, whatever, because we wanted to make sure the Sherwood West relook was done, our housing design standards are done, you know, everything that. So some of that's done, but we're not quite done with Sherwood West relook. So,
It's just dragged forever.
yeah. So that would be the only thing that I say is we had said before, we wanted all these things done before we did another ask, but I can see the importance of industrial land sooner than later, but like the urgency, I don't know.
Right, so there's the reality index. I would love to submit a request, because I want to get industrial land as pipe. I just don't see a reasonable path to success on, with it being the 6th of December. Is my gut after reading the deck, and
So with that said, if we're gonna bypass option one and go to option two, like, well, we better be ready.
yeah, like, maybe there's more questions, more information to share.
So this
Perspectives.
timeline sorry,
Yeah.
did you get your question asked? This timeline would be following and allowing for Sherwood West to be completed.
Option two,
Yes, okay, yeah, I'd be
Yes.
more in favor of option two, not the hesitancy of option one.
So, being the skeptic now, how realistic is option 2?
it's realistic, we'll have a lot of things complete, including Sherwood West. Possibly another grant that looks at infrastructure in that northern section of Sherwood West. I mean, we've been on track for the legislative act to ask, I think, for a couple of years.
This is such nightmare planning. I mean, it's not your fault. It's not CAC's fault. I blame consultants and state mandated process or metro mandated process.
Both, yeah.
It is,
The other side of this that for us to consider if we wait is we'll have more opportunity to have dialogue with the school board and as far as what's gonna happen closer to the school too, to so we solidify that partnership, stay on the same pathway.
So this is more feedback on the process, because I definitely, as being on the CAC, I feel some of the pain a little bit that everyone else is talking about and how long it's taking. I mean, you know, that committee meets every 4 to 6 weeks. It feels like in the future, there might be an opportunity on these types of events to meet more frequently and condense the timeline. Just a thought, but obviously too late for this particular one.
I think that's a great thought. I would also add that this, going through the Sherwood West concept planning process right now, after the impacts of HB 2001, which blew up how you look at density in a map, because HB 2001 lets the builder build whatever they want. And they coupled with other state processes that don't recognize that. It's been an incredible challenge to how you even do a concept plan, given the nexus of all these different rules that are coming down. So yeah, it could have been faster, but we've had to push the consultants really hard to to consider all these factors.
And
Would
this
you
is-
agree, Erica?
I agree wholeheartedly, and I have to say that this is really the first concept plan that's utilizing House Bill 2001 and kind of looking at the analysis and the impacts.
I would still say we haven't solved all of those things.
No, we
Which is
haven't.
why I came back to my point of how realistic are we with option two? Because I just don't see us on a path to success with option two. With these consultants and other consultants, and whoever other people we need to be in this process. It's just so,
I disagree. I think we're there. I think we're on the path.
I mean, you're in the thick of it a whole lot more than me. I'm just on the sidelines going, it's December and we're plucking along. As a, we might not know, you might know, are in the glorious metro region. Do we know if there are other areas looking at a potential ask in 24?
I don't know that answer.
Probably Hillsborough.
But
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, yeah.
So,
They're chomping at the bit. I've had brokers tell me they're running out of land in Hillsborough.
Jim has a question.
wait for Erica.
Yeah.
So, the one thing I would consider adding to your list here is we have new zoning concepts that we have to get worked out too. This is part of that.
But I do have to say that the new zoning concepts can come after and ask to metro.
Yeah, I
I
just,
just go to the planning commission.
I think
But
that it's also
yes.
part of setting expectations with landowners,
Yes.
all that kind of stuff, so.
At this point, I don't care about expectations of landowners.
I just want to get the zoning things accomplished.
Yeah. But that's a planning commission type work, not a CAC type
Yeah.
work.
Right.
Oh, no, it's not CSC.
Other questions, thoughts? So can we get a agenda, future agenda for January on CAC? Matt?
Update.
I took the survey, and some of it was batshit crazy, so I'm assuming you're not doing batshit crazy.
Sorry, so where did we end up with on option 1 or 2? I stepped away for a minute.
2.
We're all on the path of two.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else to get on this? Awesome, thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Appreciate you putting that together. Always good to get the facts, get feedback.
What? It looks like a clay cut.
Kind of, it's like a big block up in his block. Nice view of your stomach.
Are you laying on your bed, Taylor?
I am on a couch.
Nice.
Hey, I'm gonna stop my video if I can't, casually here.
Doug's giving us the side eye in his video, his picture.
Wrong. Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
For dessert,
Did
I did.
No, we're missing.
Yeah, next time, please.
Yeah, last-
You're gonna force us to meet on the 20th.
I guess.
Oh, yeah?
if we didn't have the elections and stuff certified today, those are guaranteed. Got it. So. I remember a year ago, I was in the last Warren City board meeting. I thought it was done.
Yeah, it was last year, that's time.
I think it's just like.
So you got a telephone call?
The weekend from hell.
You've seen the results.
Don't drink and text or tweet.
We should-
Some more on that story.
Community notice list.
Wonder if you started and then put it in.
Decision. So Mary doesn't like sharing.
I know. It's true, especially land use.
I'm not one of those.
Policy. I like most engineering principles.
Okay.
Not all, but these
And then
It wasn't computer problems, right?
Everyone wants a graduate to go.
Go, or San Diego.
Ready to go, Mayor?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So we have Tony and Megan with Kittleson and Associates. They're here tonight to talk about Ice Age Drive. I know I come in the middle of this project. It's got a few challenges. And we also have Craig Christensen here, our civil engineer. He doesn't get to come to council very often. He's actually working on the private development side that's going up against this road. So, and he's also going to work on this project for the city. So welcome.
Awesome.
Turn it
Well,
over to
thank
you, Tony.
you. So we started this back about a year ago with Bob. And it's the Ice Age Drive extension from Oregon Street to 124 through the Tonquin employment area. All right, here we go. So what you're looking at is 12th and Sherwood on the north leg and the shoulder there. All right. Well, 12th and Sherwood on the north, Oregon Street on the west, 124th on the east, and then Tonquin off the screen to the south. The red highlighted areas are projects either currently under construction or in development or now built. So 12 TS Corporate Park on the north against 12th and Sherwood is built out mostly. Sherwood Commerce Center is the Schnitzer property on the left. And then adjacent to 124th is the Willamette Water Supply construction. And they are building out their portion of Ice Age Drive along their northern frontage. And the blue highlighted areas are the properties most impacted by the extension of Ice Age Drive. That's why they're highlighted. It's not the entirety of what is the Tonquin employment area, but they're the ones that are impacted by Ice Age Drive alignments. Let's see. So what the goal is to identify a preferred alignment. What constraints are out there and what is the best alignment to serve water, sewer, stormwater, and roadway transportation connections? So a couple ideas that give you a big picture of what some of the constraints are. BPA and PG have significant easements through crossing diagonally through the property. In addition, we've got a Kinder Morgan gas line. So it's high pressure aviation gas.
That's the green squiggly.
That is kind of the green squiggly that runs kind of northwest-ish.
You say aviation gas?
Gas, yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We didn't either.
Oh,
They went out and followed the course.
where does it go? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, once it comes through here, it shoots and goes due north, once it crosses Oregon Street. Where it goes from there and ends up in Bethany, because I encountered this line once before. They take it really seriously.
They have federally regulated, approved pipeline. Has similar power to a railroad.
Oh,
They would
you're
argue
not
that.
touching one.
Ego to ego.
Yes. equally as challenging for us to deal with, yes. In addition to the utilities out there, we have some known wetlands from some wetland inventories that have been done over the years. That's the light blue hatches. And then there are, you can see the label for Hedges Creek that kind of runs along the east end of the tax lots, and it runs kind of northeast towards 12th and Sherwood Road. It's not really a creek, it's the headwaters of it, but it does connect, and it's what it's labeled for. Other challenges and restrictions we
We put a
have,
label on it, but it isn't necessarily.
it's arguably shown in some records as a creek. I would argue that it's not, because the infiltration rates are so high, there's no water that's ever going to stand here. We did a geotechnical bore right at the intersection of Dalkey Lane and the south side of the BPA alignment. And they got over 100 inches an hour of infiltration, which is incredibly high. They couldn't get water to stand. They just opened up the back of the truck and water poured through it.
Yeah. This is just a big pile of rock.
Exactly.
That's all this is.
Good fractures. And the top portion, there's sections that's really good fractured rock, and there's some that's really hard rock that doesn't infiltrate at all. But that's coming up. What else we got out there? So the couple of the site restrictions we have, the water supply treatment, like I said, they're building that portion, the gray portion of their roadway. And then the Sherwood Commerce Center has a development plan. So where Ice Age Drive goes through their northeast corner is.
So I'm laughing because, you know, is this the actual Ice Age alignment on the site on this map?
Very close.
Okay, because what was shown on slide 1 of the deck or 2 is different.
So yeah, this slide was our very initial concept plan that we came up with as we're trying to think through what the issues are.
Yeah.
This is getting, as we go, we're getting more refined in terms of what our understanding of the project is.
So this is what the water folks are building.
Correct.
Right.
Willamette Water Supply. Or is that JWC? Willamette Water Supply. Okay.
We don't care about
Water people. All right, so the concept is build the city's collector section through the right-of-way negotiation. They're subject to change. Kiwis, things like that might get changed around. At the two tips where we're tying in at Oregon Street and 124th, the Oregon Street intersection meets the traffic warrants for a new signal when the road is built. 124th does not meet them yet, likely will in the future once Ice Age Drive gets fully built out. So the cost estimates you see later are a signal at Oregon Street and just a two-way stop controlled intersection with 124th being unstopped.
So then who puts in the signal?
That would be a condition of development when the warrants trigger.
Again, part of me hates what you do. To build something and then turn around and a year later have to rebuild it.
It's not warranted in the next 5 years. It's a 15 to 20 year build out where it would be warranted and the county would approve it.
Based on stuff happening on the 12th side? Or are you thinking, I mean, big stuff's is under construction on our side.
Correct, yes. And that's why
So what is in your analysis or assumptions for that intersection to be a signal? Is the traffic coming from, is it coming from our side? Or is it coming from the Tualatin side that'll trigger it? Because I think you're gonna get ours pretty quick.
it looked at the regional growth model, so it looked at both Sherwood's and Tualatin's together.
Yeah,
So I can't tell you for sure whose growth it was.
so I'd love to know afterwards,
Yes, we'll make sure we know that.
because it doesn't make, from my perspective, put it in.
You're talking about the one on 124th.
Yeah. I don't like to build stuff and then rebuild it a few years later.
I don't like it either.
Question, the Oregon Street alignment, is that the only alignment available? Where you have that light? And the reason I ask is because Allied, their employees all pile out of there at 3:30. So that's gonna be a giant mess every day at 3:30 or well, actually, it's not much of an issue in the morning because everybody's leaving town, as we all know, except the people coming to Allied. So
So that alignment of the signal is offset from Allied's driveway? So that's not Allied's driveway we're tying into, Allied's driveway.
Well-
This is their main driveway here.
right. And that's what I'm saying. Every day at 3:30, a couple hundred people are gonna pile out of
Pull
there
out here.
and then back that light up every day. Hence the alignment question. Maybe it doesn't matter, but I've been in that area when people are trying to leave work and they're not high staff now, but something could change and then there'd be another couple hundred people working there and it don't strike me as a carpooling place. So there's gonna be one car for every additional employee. Just a question.
Isn't part of the thought that that would be a right turn only and that people would be going out the Ice Age Drive to 124?
Right turn only onto Ice Age?
No. I thought that there was a right turn only from Ice Age onto Oregon.
Signal.
Okay. Because why wouldn't I go, if I'm in that industrial park, why would I come out the Oregon light unless I'm gonna be going left onto 12th and Sherwood? Why wouldn't I go right if I'm gonna be going towards and drive down Ice Age the other direction? I'm not sure I understand your point, Linda.
Her point was congestion of people leaving Allied going on to Oregon.
Oh, right. Okay, so if I'm coming out of Allied going left,
Yes,
okay.
So I think the bigger thing is that Washington County is gonna tell us where that light's gonna
They have already.
go. So, I mean, that's what I wanted to double check on, but
Oregon Street's.
I think they're gonna, Oregon Street's county.
And there was an access study that was done prior to our involvement that said it's.
It was determined through this access management plan that was done. with the Property owners, most of them agreed except for one, and that got resolved. And so that is the alignment that the county says they want for their road.
all right, so there's no going backwards from there. All right, forwards, here we go.
That's a good question, so.
All right, so when we started, we had the restrictions on Oregon Street, and we had or not restriction, but the set alignment point on Oregon Street, and we had the set alignment for what the water people were doing. And we drafted 5 concepts with big colored pencils to see which ones might work. On this map, the red dots are PGE or BPA towers or wood pole sets. They're slightly less, just a little bit less of a, but not much less than the gas line in terms of hitting the steel transmission towers. They're pretty sacred to BPA and PGE with the cost in the millions to relocate the steel towers. So we threw the map out and said, what makes sense? And we tried to follow property lines as best we could. So you see the light blue line, we kind of tried to go on the north side of tax lot 700. We looked at the yellow line as the north line of tax lot 800. And then looked at how do we thread the needle for the towers with the green, yellow, and purple lines.
Yeah. So that was half an hour.
That was a pretty quick map, yes.
Yep.
And got us to the point and said, let's look deeper at these 3. And with a
Quick question. The TBA is that solid dark line at the bottom, just above the edge of the photo, is that the edge of the TBA there?
no, those are just tax lot lines that are highlighted. I think TDA goes down to 12, down to Tonquin.
Oh, yeah, I'm just trying to see where that is compared to the rest of the area that's in the TBA.
Kerr is the property just immediately south of the Schnitzer property.
That's this one.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that area's been annexed into the city.
I just asked the question because in terms of long-term, how much land is this gonna open up? If it's lying really far north, it's not opening up anything, or less land to the south, right?
So we looked at the three options, went deeper onto these three, and this is once we set those three options, we looked deeper at to where the sanitary goes. We put the road in, but the sanitary has to follow the roadway. And we looked at 9 options for the 3 alignments. So we looked at a sewer system that follows Oregon Street and Ice Age Drive, or that comes on the east-west road, which is the south side of the Schnitzer property, and then extends up through an east-west connector, is what we call that little J hook there. You see it over here on this side.
What did you conclude?
We concluded that, and you've seen this already, right?
Okay.
3A, we sorted it by the map on the right, or the chart on the right, shows from the 3A south is the minimum area that can be served in acres. And the price for that is the zero line. And the blue line is the additional cost or less cost, if it's to the left, of each of the options going up. What we concluded was the deep sections coming off of Oregon Street were not feasible. Huge amount of cost, very little gain to keep it at dead flat prices and going through that hard rock that's out there. Any of the any of the middle options, 4, 5, or 6 coming off of the east-west road were the preferred alternatives for us, are recommended. You could say it's preferred, we could say recommended.
All right, so go back to the map and point out what that specifically is from a map perspective.
Let's go to this one.
Kill me.
So what that is, east-west road, south side of Schnitzer, the J hook, and then either hitting north, middle, or south alignment. For
The
sewer.
green, the yellow, and the purple.
Green, yellow, correct.
The same 3 that we agree are the only. Yeah, okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
And by J hook, you're talking about the line that has the slashes in it, right?
Yeah, that one.
Correct, through the, what's referred to as the Munger property.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it is, but I wasn't sure. Looking at the map from here.
So then we looked at what are the costs for construction, utility relocation, additional costs, which are mostly right-of-way easement costs, and then engineering support, permits, staff time to get to an overall cost. So the north alignment is 11.2.
Yeah, this isn't the overall cost either. Just being a cynic and being a bit of a snot, because there's more cost than that.
There, yes.
It's deceiving overall cost.
In terms of, for the alignment selection though, those are the factors go into it. Yes, it's a comparison. It's not the bottom line, the total cost, you're right. So when we throw in the east-west connector, and if I go back up to the map, you can see hit 2 buttons at once, that helps. So if you take the south alignment, it costs more to build the south alignment, but the east-west connector is shorter versus the north, which is cheaper to build up front, but the east-west connector gets longer. So that's where this table came from. So the delta price between north, middle, and south is roughly $1 million, comparing just the roadway and not the other costs that are involved with this. The roadway and utilities.
That's all in today's dollars, today's construction costs.
Absolutely, it's extremely volatile.
So it's probably in reality 30-40% higher.
Maybe
Yeah, things are gonna be.
exception could.
Well, and I'm not saying that to say we can't do this, I'm just saying just so we all have realistic expectations.
But we're doing it.
This same project would have been 30% less than 2 years ago.
On the water line, so.
So then we try to figure out how do we rank these and give you an idea. We looked at the construction cost, which you saw earlier, which one's easiest to build in terms of timeline, and that really goes down to the time it's going to take to get a permit from BPA and PGE. And they are going to fight it. Option 3, because it hits one of their poles. They do not like that one. 2 has a really high EF factor, electromagnetic factor, that they want to raise their lines and raise their poles up to get the lines higher. So 3, the south alignment they would pick and allow that to be permitted, a lot smoother path forward. The additional costs are the right-of-way cost to buy the property for the alignments. The developable areas are the net areas within surrounding Ice Age Drive that would be developable that are outside the encumbered easement areas. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Property impacts, when we looked and ranked those, it's how much do each property get really chewed up by the roadway? And specifically looking at 700, it really chewed, the north alignment really chewed in lot 700 as a developable.
So who has the big stick?
You.
So bigger than PGE's?
Okay, well,
I mean,
you're still asking me money. If PG forced their hand, it would just cost and take longer to do.
Why are they requiring us to raise their lines?
It's an EF thing, so it's the closer you are to the lines, the more they're worried about people being impacted by the electric field. That's what it's EF, electric field.
Yeah. But have we ever raised lines before when we put that infrastructure project under a PGE?
we did not have to.
Like for Langer Farms or no?
No, it was already high enough.
But it has to do with how much land there is, how much space there is. You may have had enough on Langer Farms.
Do you have any detail? So on the developable area, 321, in context, is 3 twice as big as 1 and 2 in terms of acres?
So please do north, south, middle.
Well, I'm just going by his numbers up there on that chart.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, the ranking.
Yeah, the 1, 2, 3, the ranking. So 3, which I believe the purple one had 3 for developable acres, so the highest score. So I'm trying to understand what the difference is. Is it 10 acres for one and 50 acres for the other? I mean, in terms of fight and investment, is it worth it to go after the more expensive one because it opens up more land? That's what I'm trying to understand.
The amount of developable land is a 10-acre difference between the 3 alignments. So it's a very small
It's very
amount
small.
relative to the oversized size. But when we look at the development potential, this is how we ranked. I apologize for the folks online. When you look where the north alignment goes through 700 and how much that is reduced down versus the middle alignment kind of goes along parallel to that depression, which is called Hedges Creek, or the south, and how little impact it has there. It has some corner clips here, and it has a corner clip here on 600. This land in the middle is all encumbered by the easements.
So from what you know, you recommend the southern? Are you not ready to make that recommendation yet after a year?
We are ready.
Are the rankings 1 being,
One is good, 3 bad,
okay,
3 less good. It's not bad.
so 18 is the lowest score, and that was the one that you guys are probably gonna recommend.
Well, number 1 is the lowest score and the preferred.
Yeah.
Yes, 1 is preferred. It's a golf game for us.
So can I ask a, comparison question? What would a road like this what would a road look like that we already have in Sherwood? What would this road look like compared to a road, Craig, we already have in Sherwood?
I was gonna say, yeah, probably Galbraith.
Oh, okay.
It's so nice. We're gonna have 2 12-foot wide multi-purpose lanes running this whole length. That's just gonna be fabulous.
So no center lane.
So,
No, it has a center lane.
Yes.
Okay, Garworth doesn't have a center lane, but okay.
so depending on what goes on the Kinder Morgan line, there's a chance that if they won't allow us to put it in the road roadway and down the sidewalk with a covered sidewalk,
Go back to the map
uh,
of the alternatives. There you go.
then we're gonna have to use the easement of one of our sidewalks, and we might not have sidewalks, but there might be a way that we can go around into the BPA easement and put some sort of a walkway on the opposite side. So just so that's one of our conflicts, because we're not far enough along in the process with BPA for them to say, yeah, we'll let you put it in the right.
We just make a traffic route.
So what is the value to me as a citizen? Someone who would use this, or as a business owner, of having a center turn lane on the corner of Sherwood Commerce Center. One side is a BPA easement you can't do nothing on. And the other side is no access into a parking lot. So is there also consideration that in that stretch, it's a narrower road without a center turn lane? Did you look at that?
What we're looking, these guys, the Sherwood Commerce Center has a driveway that's right there.
Yep.
And if you put just 100-foot turn pocket in there and transition that out, it doesn't save very much to get rid of this section. Because that turn pocket would be 100 feet and then you got the transition taper to drop it out. So there may be some savings in there to reduce that down and then widen back out once we go through there, except in the refined design.
Does the Commerce Center only have one exit and entrance?
I'll also go down east-west.
They'll have east-west and a right-in
right.
movement off of Oregon Street.
Oh, okay.
Once ICS Drive is built, they'll have full access prior to Ice Age and then it gets converted to a right-in.
I mean, I'll personally use it to cut over to go to Costco, so I don't have to do Tonkin.
And from a septic from a sewer standpoint, does the southern one, is that the best one as well from a stormwater standpoint?
From stormwater.
Yeah, do we have
Yes.
to go does it eat up?
It's good for the stormwater, it's good for the sanitary. That's probably, you're gonna be able to feed more properties if you go the southern route.
Awesome, let's build it.
All right, go ahead. We can finish up. You lost us.
All right, so now this is your overall cost you're looking for. And the potential revenue expenses, the costs and the potential revenues. It's easy for us to calculate the TDT and the transportation taxes. That would be, because that's based on development area. Water and sewer is based on the type of use. So if you get a high user in there that's using a lot of water, the meter's bigger, the SDC is bigger. But if you get a data storage that doesn't use so much water or sewer, then their meter's smaller, therefore their SDC is smaller. So it's really hard for us to calculate and estimate how much potential revenue would come in for sewer and water.
I really like this slide.
Thank you.
I really like this slide.
Put a little time into that.
I like the data and I like the difference, the summary.
Well, and in the storm, I'm sorry, but in the storm regional, we didn't put anything because if you do regionals versus if they're actually building smaller, it's gonna make a big difference. So that's, you talked about the water and sewer. There's some other options here long term.
And those bottom line numbers are already accounted for the earmark.
Earmarks listed.
I know it's listed there, I just want to make sure it's.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the miscellaneous revenues? Is that selling back to properties?
Yeah, it's just, yeah, probably don't want to talk a lot about that, but yeah, there's some of that.
Yeah.
All right, ready to move on?
More questions?
That is the end of it. So our next step, come back in January.
I got a question. Who builds the fish hook or J hook or whatever we're calling it?
The connector?
The connector, you got the sewer line in there and does the road need to connect, or we just do a sewer connect?
So that is back on the slide that we have to build about 400 feet
Correct.
with this project that we need to be including in our cost, because they're gonna run right to the edge of their property.
And it's, I bought it. Should it connect? That's a stupid question.
Yeah, no, it should.
Great, and why?
It should connect.
Because Kerr is gonna need to go up that way too, to some extent. Okay, so Schnitzer's gonna build what I still call Tonkin Court, I guess it's now Laurelwood. They're gonna build it from here down, and this is the first phase, and then they'll get their second phase, and they're gonna build it down to connect to Kerr. Kerr really does need to go up that way.
Perfect.
So that's.
I mean, it's just for the collective good of everyone. We need it because provide access to those parties up there instead of having a right in, right out. Perfect.
We're gonna put fiber in as well?
Everywhere. Yeah.
That's part of,
Yeah,
okay.
all the utilities will be underground and extended.
So I guess what we're looking for now is, we can't make a decision in here, but a recommendation on alignment. So we can go back to work and Tony's group can actually finish up this project so we can actually bring something back at the January 17th meeting with the final alignment. Tighten it up a little bit. And then if it's a go after that, bring back a contract, amending contracted to 100% design in February.
Great. Do you agree with the recommended alignment?
To the southern route, I think that's your best option. That's going to cross the most perpendicularly with the EPA and HE, so it's their preferred route, so to be less to do there. That part that's labeled as Hedges Creek, it pretty well avoids that, so it's less the environmental impact there. And then also with tax lot 700, I think that with the northern route, you're dealing with a little bit more of splicing up the tax lot 700. This one kind of goes on the fringes of that.
Awesome. Are there any concerns, or should we be concerned with the Mays family taking Oregon Street, turning on the Tonkin Court, going east-west and up on the other thing, on Fish Hook to the road, or is it just that's gonna be, it's gonna be enough inconvenience versus going up to 124th where we really want them to be?
You're saying coming Oregon Street to Laurel, dropping down the east-west connector through the hook. And then
Yeah,
taking a
it's
right along.
loop kind of both ways.
It'd be a very scenic drive for you to take that.
A lot of trucks.
That's so just kind of expressing, ideally, we want one to be attractive and one to not be attractive.
Be much more, especially when you're coming from 124th to Oregon Street with the signal of Oregon Street. I mean, how many times have you sat on Tonkin trying to turn
Yes,
left there?
yeah.
Having a signal here makes Ice Age Drive much more appealing.
Tony, I think the argument that I don't think was brought up here is I believe that like this Laurel Way or Tonkin Court is going to be a right in, right out, I believe, when the signal gets put in for Ice Age.
Was that Laurel? I know the Sherwood Commerce Center's driveway that they're putting in right now converts to a right in. I don't know about Laurel.
The driveway will go away with the Ice Age comes in. So I believe Laurel would be a right in, right out. Or
We'll investigate that.
Other questions?
So we are good with the southern alignment and we'll get something back in front of you.
Doug, do you have any more questions? Taylor, do you have any more questions?
So I've seen these, it seems like I've seen them for a while, so, but I have no problem with that alignment.
Don't get me fun.
Awesome. I think we're good. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg, and team.
Oh, she is.
All right, so we have a couple minutes before we go. Tim?
Yeah, just one quick item. It's K2's favorite time of year. It's time for review. And Renee and I talked a little bit. Renee has offered to help lead that effort and wanted to, so we're not here to discuss everything, but just wanted to get consensus from council that Renee, and if someone else wants to volunteer to help out, we'll lead that effort to do the review. Renee suggested we do a 360 review, which I personally think is a good idea. But Renee would organize that process with staff, again, with help someone from here to be part of that. Get the ball rolling, and I'm assuming we'll schedule a work session or executive session, depending on how we do that, probably in January.
Discuss the process,
Do you want to have a separate one to discuss the process?
or
We can.
or we just have the subcommittee take and do the process, figure out the processes.
i.e. not hire consultants.
No, why not?
Taylor, Doug,
I couldn't totally hear everything that Tim was saying. Is it just saying we want to do a subcommittee to do a review for K2?
just start.
Subcommittee will set up the process and get the ball rolling, but we all do the review.
Okay. And you're asking for volunteers for the subcommittee?
If you would like. Renee has offered to help lead it. If someone else would like to help out. you're welcome.
Sure, I can help out. I got a few bones to pick with K2.
We're setting up a process. We're not picking bones.
I know. I'm just joking.
We're throwing flowers or anything like that.
It's setting up the process to get the 360s to.
That's right.
It's fine. I'm sorry. I did do 13 performance reviews today already, so I can help you out.
Okay, very good.
All right, Doug, are you interested or are you good?
I am interested in hearing how the setting up of the process goes, so I can participate in the final review.
Awesome. All right, so it'll be Renee and Taylor. Thank you, guys.
Anything else to go to the order? We're adjourned.